Fancy living in Spain? Join the Language and Culture Assistance Program of the Education Office of the Spanish Embassy. It offers a fantastic opportunity to spend a school year in Spain as an assistant teacher, sharing your language and knowledge with Spanish students K through 12 and adults.
Con ella aprender inglés es estupendo. Chloe es la mejor.
I got medical insurance and a monthly allowance to help pay for accommodation and expenses, and I really think that this experience will help with my career in the future.
Spain also offers you amazing travel and cultural possibilities.
I couldn't have imagined this was going to be such a life-changing experience.
And what about the food?
And the lively streets.
And the wonderful people.
Yo he mejorado mucho mi español.
Don't miss this opportunity. Learn more about the Language and Culture Assistance Program of the Education Office of the Embassy of Spain.
And grow as you share.
Well, good evening, everyone, and especially to those of you across the Atlantic and in other time zones. You probably have a lot of plans, but you are here showing your interest, which means a lot to us. I'm delighted to welcome you to the first online webinar NALCAP Forever. We hope it will be the first of many. Recently, we also had the opportunity to celebrate an on-site gathering of NALCAP alumni in Houston, proclaiming the 12th of July NALCAP Day and showing the lovely relationship that North America and Spain has always had. We hope we can continue with these important meetings, celebrating our sense of community in the future. My name is Elsa Hoyo, and I am Technical Advisor in Miami. And together with Luis Suarez, our Technical Advisor in Seattle, we will conduct this space, which is quite different to what you have already seen. Alberto Garcia in Miami and Juan Lago in Indianapolis are joining us, providing essential technical support. Thanks a lot. We also have some exceptional speakers, all of them with great information to tell us about their professional careers and how NALCAP impacted in their lives, as well as their experience in Spain. I would like to thank a lot the presence of Lauren, Alexis, Kathy, Kieran, and Danielle. Welcome. From now on, you will always be our first invited NALCAP alumni. But before introducing them in more detail, let me tell you about the structure of this unusual webinar. We have conceived it as a friend's talk, divided into 3 sections: how NALCAP has impacted your lives and professional path, tips and advice for people who want to participate, and funny moments as NALCAPer. We also have a surprise at the end for all the attendees and panelists, and we will post a link in case that you want to collaborate with our embassy in NALCAP alumni. Please, the chat will be open to questions to our speakers, and in case that you want to tell us about you, give professional opportunities, or name your associations for the rest of the attendee. But I would like to remind you that this is not a webinar about questions related to technical issues. I mean, we are aware that many of you can be waiting for an answer about your personal situation according to one or other region or a letter of placement. But unfortunately, we're truly sorry that this is not the right space for those questions. In this case, please contact our email, nalcap@education.gov.es. What we intend here is to create a sense of community among people who have lived or are going to have great life experience. You belong to NALCAP Forever, and for that, LinkedIn is going to be the open window to you. Finally, we will provide a short questionnaire about this webinar to find out your opinion and proposals. So, let's start. I'm going to start with Lauren Road. She's from Idaho. She was in Valencia 2 years ago. She pursued a Fulbright in Finland, a Master in International Marketing Management, and next year she will probably be in France. Hi, Lauren. Hi. Then we have Alexis Andrew from Ohio. NALCAP in 2017 and several years more in two different regions, Andalucía and Extremadura, happily married to a Spaniard and working as an international career advisor in Miami at Miami University. Hi, Alexis. Okay, then we have Kiran Singh from LA, but currently in Dublin, Ireland, finishing her studies of medicine in Trinity College. Occasionally, she volunteers in her college teaching English to refugees and asylum seekers. She was NALCAP in Madrid for 2 years and continuously traveling to Valencia, Spain. She will explain to us later. Hi, Kira. Then we have Kathy Robinson from Kansas City, our NALCAPer during the pandemic in a pueblo in Madrid. She lives in Alicante now, and she hosts a fantastic traveling blog with great information about her experience in our program. We will include the link to her blog in our chat later. She counts on a digital nomad visa, and she can tell us information about that. Nice to see you. And last but not least, Daniela Ayala from LA, NALCAP in Madrid too, teacher of Spanish as a second language and great collaborator of us in our social media, as she will explain to you later. Hi, Danielle. Happy to have you all here. Now I'm excited to pass the floor to my colleague Luis, who will oversee the first question. Come on, Luis, your turn.
Thank you very much, Elsa. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, dear panelists, and welcome, and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us from home. Thank you so much. Before we start with the first part of the webinar, I'd like to share two things with you: a fact and a multiple choice question. A fact which will give you a clear idea of how big NALCAP is, and a multiple choice question about NALCAP, which will give you a clear idea of how popular NALCAP is with US and Canadian young people. This is the fact. Over the last 20 years, well over 50,000 Americans and Canadians have participated in this program, and they have had an impact, a direct impact, on millions of Spanish students. So your assistance is needed. And now the multiple choice question. There you are. How long after finding out about the program do assistants take the plunge and apply for it? The options are: people apply for the program the very same year they find out about it, the year after they found out about it, or 2 years after they found out about it. Now, let me share with you
Okay.
All right. Now, you can use the QR code there to send us your answer. How long after finding out about the program do normally Oxys apply for it? The very same year, the year after they found out, or 2 years after they found out? You can also use the chat if you would like to. All right. Okay. Now, in 2024, we carried out a survey, and the results showed that most Oxys take the plunge and apply for the program the year after, right? They found out about it. That is 29% of them. But interestingly enough, people who applied for the program the very same year they found out about it, that percentage is 24, which is very close to the year after. So this, to me, is a very clear indication that this program is appealing and people are very excited about being part of it. All right. All right, let's start with the first segment again. And for that, I'd like our panelists to think of a word, only one word, that would summarize or encapsulate yet their entire NALCAP experience. And people at home, you can use the chat. Remember, it's only one word that is your experience, maybe a whole year in Spain, maybe 2 years in Spain, encapsulated in only one word. And then your explanation about why that word, the reason for choosing that word, will be more than welcome. So, panelists, Alexis, Danielle, Kathy, Kieran, Lauren, when you are ready, tell us the word you chose and why.
I will go ahead and start us off with breaking the rules because I'm going to choose 3 words. But I would say that my experience was magically mind-bending. Magical because Spain there's something in the air, the culture, the people, the warmness that I experienced was truly unlike any other place that I've been to. But the mind-bending took place in interactions that I had in the classroom, outside the classroom. I was challenged on my beliefs. I was shown different perspectives, which led to an unparalleled amount of personal growth that I experienced. So the way that I was forced to learn and the way that I was experiencing culture in that way definitely was a magical experience, but definitely forced me out of my comfort zone.
Thank you very much, Alexis.
I will go ahead and share next. So my word that I think of when I think of my time in Spain is empowering. I just feel that my time in Spain really gave me the confidence and empowered me to know that I can live abroad, I can learn a new language, I can learn a new culture, meet new people, and all while getting experience teaching English. So I'd say my word is empowering.
Kind of going off of what Danielle said, I would say my word is freedom because to me, it kind of represented the first time that I ever did something with my life that wasn't kind of the prescribed path that you're kind of given as you're growing up as a kid in the US, you know, go to school, go to college, get a job. I did all of those things and I was kind of like, you know what? I don't know if this is the path I want to stay on. So for me, I kind of just decided to take the leap, do something that nobody else I knew had ever done anything like that before. But taking advantage of the fact that I had free will for my life, that was the first time I kind of ever exercised that. And ever since then, that really got the ball rolling, and I haven't stopped exercising my free will for my life. So NALCAP really represented the first time that I ever took that chance. So I'm really grateful to it for that.
Thank you.
I'll share next. So my word, I think somebody said it in the chat. I think Sarah Kelly said it, but my word is transformative. My NALCAP experience was transformative because it didn't just take me to a new country. It reshaped how I see the world, where I call home, and what I value in life. It deepened relationships, expanded my independence, something that Kathy touched on, and shifted my sense of belonging. It even altered the path that I took to reach my career goal of going to medical school. And from learning Spanish through immersion to finding lifelong friendships and love, which I'll talk about as well. Alexis and I both found that during our time in Spain, to discover that I could actually enjoy teaching young kids. Didn't know that. Every part of that experience helped me grow into a fuller, more grounded version of myself.
Next, I'll say the last word, which is actually the same word as Kieran's, transformative. It's the best word that fits my experience. It changed the way I see the world and honestly how I see myself. It wasn't just about teaching or living in Spain, but this program shifted how I understand community and culture and even myself. I grew in ways that I didn't expect, and now I'm much more confident about my future. So that's why I'm saying transformative.
Well, girls, it's great what you have said. Magical, empowering, freedom, transformative. And we have to add the ones of the chat, like life-changing. Then we have here, for example, unforgettable, amazing, grow. And I like one that is like, poof. Now that is this expression to say, I don't have enough words just to say what was NALCAP to me. Lovely to know that. And that gives me the opportunity to pass to the next question. So I want to ask you if you consider that NALCAP has changed your this is more like professional now. If there was after NALCAP a change in your professional career, or maybe the view that you had about the future after this experience. Now, some of you have been were in Spain like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, almost 10 years ago. So what can you tell me about that? For example, anyone?
I'll go. Thank you for the question. I would say NALCAP completely changed my career path. I was originally on a business track, but I had no idea where to go, where to even start. After NALCAP, everything shifted. So I applied for a Fulbright scholarship, and I'm now living in Finland getting my master's degree. My focus is on education, diplomacy, and cultural exchange, all of which NALCAP is essentially a stepping stone for. And now I'm hoping to work for the US Department of State, ideally in public diplomacy, whether that's a US Embassy role in DC or working on international exchange programs in Spain. So NALCAP just showed me firsthand how powerful cultural exchange can be.
And I would say for me, NALCAP definitely changed my career. Obviously, it changed my life. And I feel like they're so intertwined for me right now. Like was mentioned earlier, I'm on a digital nomad visa now in Spain, which is something that did not exist when I was doing the program from 2018 to 2020. And since then, I've been able to come over here, basically working as a contractor for myself, set my own hours. And when I went over to Spain through NALCAP, like I said, I had a job that I had worked in for 3 years after graduating college that I just wasn't feeling fulfilled in. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to move to Spain and just see what happens from there. And I kind of just told myself something was going to work out. And I ended up, getting into kind of a freelancing type of relationship with a former colleague of mine, which has now turned into a full-time job where he doesn't care where we work. And so, yeah, without NALCAP, I don't think that any of the life that I have right now would have ever happened at all. I could be celebrating my 10-year anniversary in that corporate job that I hated, like a lot of my friends just have done this summer. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with that if, that's your path, but it wasn't my path. And NALCAP gave me the confidence to kind of forge my own path. And if you don't know what the digital nomad visa is, I mentioned it a little bit, but typically right now, I think they're mostly applying people who are contractors versus salaried employees. But I actually have a blog post about it that I'll drop a link to in the chat that kind of just goes through the whole process of what it was like to apply. So if you're interested, feel free to check that out.
I will go next. Similar vein to Kathy for sure. However, for me, while NALCAP didn't change my ultimate career goal of becoming a physician, it did completely reshape the path that I took to get there. The experience opened my eyes to the possibility of building a life outside of the US, very similar to Kathy. And that shift in perspective led me to attend medical school in Ireland, something that I never even considered before. It also helped me grow personally in ways that directly impact how I show up in my career. I'm more resilient, more adaptable, more open to the unexpected. I have more cultural competency, meeting patients of different backgrounds, patients who have English as a second language. I gained so many skills as a NALCAPper that helped me in my day-to-day life, being a medical student and future physician. So while my professional direction stayed the same, the route and the mindset I brought with me were transformed by NALCAP.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You have just referred to the NALCAP impact on your careers, which is evident, but my question now is slightly different. Let me ask you, how instrumental has NALCAP been in making you a different person? But rather than professionally, I mean both personally and emotionally.
I'll take that. And I also will add that NALCAP for sure has influenced me professionally as well. I think my job that I'm in right now is an international career coach, supporting international students and supporting students who are pursuing international careers, is a direct result of the fact that I had this experience and I started my career, or I had a midpoint in my career in Spain. But on the personal side, the emotional side, I wouldn't say that my life is completely changed the trajectory. I was always gonna marry the man of my dreams. I was always gonna do great things, but I would say it definitely shaped and enhanced my experience. So I met my husband my third year that I was in Spain, and we have been inseparable since. So from 2019 to now, and he's now living in the United States with me here as well. But aside from my husband, his family, my friends that I made, those have been people who are now lifelong friends. I now have family in Spain versus my husband's family. Like I'm one of the family. So emotionally, professionally, personally, the impact has been incredible.
Right. Thank you very much, Alexis.
I'll follow up Alexis. I really like her idea of her time in Spain enhancing her life, and I feel totally the same about mine. Kind of unlike my panelists, I always knew that I wanted to go into education, specifically teaching in a classroom. So that was kind of my introduction to NALCAP, and I was excited to gain that experience in the classroom where I taught English from preschoolers all the way through sixth grade. And now I just got my first job to teach elementary school here in California. So I've taken all of that experience in the classroom in Spain and have directly put it into practice, or am going to put it into practice coming up very shortly. As well as just the experience of teaching, I also got my master's degree in Spain. So I was a language assistant and studied a master's in teaching English as a second language and bilingual education during my second year as a language assistant. So while I was even studying, I was putting all of that into practice into the classroom. So I definitely feel that my teaching now has totally been enhanced and strengthened by my relationships that I made in Spain, by my experiences, by the language as well. So I'm just super grateful for all of it and the opportunity that I had through NALCAP.
I'm going to step in and actually say something that I forgot to say about experiences that I learned about, things that I didn't want. My time in the classroom taught me that I don't necessarily always want to be in the classroom. And so while it was a wonderful experience, while I grew so much, it was like a really good kind of trial and error for me. And so that led me to taking other career decisions. Like I'm now pursuing my MBA because I want to be more in the business space. So it definitely directly enhanced and informed the decisions that I made going forward. So even if it's not like your long-term dream, like I love Danielle saying that she always knew, even if you're still exploring, this is a great part of the exploration of the things that you want to do long-term.
All right. Any other contribution? No? All right. Somehow connected with this question that you just did, did NALCAP make you aware of a hidden talent of yours? Something like a revelation. NALCAP made you discover you were really good at something. What? And a revelation that amazed yourself.
I could start this one. Yes, I found a hidden talent. I'm actually really good at working with elementary school kids. Never had any experience before this program, so that was very shocking for me to find out. By the end of the year, my bond with the students was so strong that saying goodbye was probably one of my top 3 hardest things that I've done. On my last day, the students all gave me these little drawings and things that they've been working on the past few weeks. And I received a lot of pictures of Mercadona, a popular grocery store chain in Spain. I think that was one of their favorite things to draw. Some of the students also cried. That made me cry. It just showed me that I had made an impact with the students. I didn't go into this program thinking that I was going to connect with kids in this way, something I would be naturally good at, but it ended up being one of the most rewarding parts of this whole experience.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I'll go next. So for a hidden talent, I don't know if it's really a hidden talent, but it's something I discovered about myself. But I never thought I could learn a language so easily, and maybe some other people in the chat or panelists feel the same. But living in Spain taught me that I could, just through immersion and day-to-day life. I'm not fluent by any means, but I do feel like I have a good command of the language. Also, similar to Lauren, I did not think that I liked little kids, and I was, sure that I only really wanted to work with teens and adults. So when I found out I had been placed in a primary school, I was dreading it. My preferences were adults and teens and secondary schools. And then I found out primary. I was like, no, I was like, should I go? I'm like, I don't want to work with little kids. But to my surprise, I liked it. I don't think I'm going to be a pediatrician, but I was really surprised to find out that I really enjoyed being around kids, teaching them. And yeah, more than I expected. And I'm great with kids in small doses. So definitely something I discovered about myself.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Kieran and Lauren. And in the chat, I have seen that maybe because of NALCAP, or maybe because they have the idea, many people have discovered the same, like as you know, that working with kids was not so terrible. No, indeed, we can see that there are some teachers in the chat too. So that's lovely to know that with the program you can find something new too. I want to pass to another kind of question, maybe a reflective one. No, this one, it refers to looking back on your experience. I think that what advice would you give to those who are about to join the NALCAP program? And in the case that you could repeat the program, would you have something different if you have the chance, for example? Who wants to answer?
I'll go really quick. I would say if you're even thinking about joining the NALCAP program, just do it. Being in a completely new environment, this is going to push you just in the best ways. You're going to grow a lot. You're going to become more confident. It's going to shape your future perspectives. If I could do it again, I would be more intentional about learning the Spanish language. I would be taking more courses and not just hoping that these intercambios or conversation exchanges would do all the work for me. I also wish I had made more friends my own age and just ventured out. I mostly connected with my teachers and their families, which was amazing, but I missed out on a lot of peer relationships that I wish I'd done. And something simple that I could have done at my own school was sitting with the teachers at lunch earlier in the year, even when it felt awkward. I ended up doing this towards the end of the year, and it was amazing. They were so nice to me. It's when the best conversations kind of revealed themselves. But I wish I'd done that earlier. So if I have any advice, I would just recommend that you push yourself in any of those sorts of situations.
I'll go next. So for me, similar, I think, to maybe a lot of the panelists here, but I know Kathy and I really resonated with this part that, many people were, well, at least for me, a bit concerned. They're like, oh, are you sure you want to go? Like, And so it is the path less traveled for some of us. So for me, my advice would be, when you're 80 years old, will you regret not taking a chance to live in another country just for a year? I remember I would, growing up, I would hear like, older people say, oh, I regret this, that, or the other thing. Like, I regret not living in another country. I regret not traveling more when I was younger, or just traveling more in my life. And NALCAP gives you a rare window to explore, to grow, to reset your life in the most exciting and meaningful way. You may not realize, like I didn't realize, I'm like, okay, I'll just go to Spain, I'll have fun. But I didn't realize all of the skills that I would learn, how in a positive way it would change my life. There were challenges. I think we all faced challenges when we lived in Spain, but they did ultimately make us stronger and give us a lot of really good stories. You have not much to lose and so much to gain. So and then to add to the second part, looking back, and even at the time I realized my school was fantastic, but I don't think I fully appreciated it. I worked hard, I did my job well, but if I could do it again, I'd savor my work days more, I'd enjoy the kids more, and I did for sure. The little moments and just the rhythm of the school day. It's not something I'll ever have an opportunity to do again. And And yeah, just like a little bit more savoring living in the moment of the school. I think my life outside of school was really fulfilling. And in school, I think, just a little bit more connection, a little bit more being present. If I could do that again, I would do that. The students are truly special, as we all talked about. And when you take the time to connect with them, it's really rewarding.
Girls, I think that your recommendations are great, and I cannot say anything. I completely agree with you. I want to say just one thing because I know that Lauren at this moment she's in the airport now because she's going to catch a flight to attend the Finnish Film Festival. Somebody in the chat, Lauren, just before leaving, is asking you which part of Valencia were you when you were in NALCAP? So can you tell them?
Yes, I was near a neighborhood called Patrais. It was in the city center of Valencia, in the capital. It was a
Okay.
great experience.
I was very lucky because I was not directly the tutor of Lauren when she was in Valencia, but I was proud that I met her there, and we still have this contact that is great. But at this moment, I know that you have to leave, so we only want to thank you very much, Lauren, because I think that is your flight now, yeah. And thank you for being with us today. We wish you a smooth journey and unforgettable time at this Finnish festival. That the idea of going to Finland was after being in Spain with NALCAP. Thanks to NALCAP, she had an interview with a Fulbright, and then she could continue with her studies in Finland. And now she's invited to a Finnish festival. Where is the festival?
It's in Minnesota, in
In
Duluth,
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot. Enjoy a lot. We just say goodbye, and the rest of us, Daniela,
Okay.
Kian, Alexis, and Kathy, we will continue, Luis. Okay. Thank you and lovely for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Keep in touch.
Adios a todos.
Adios, encantados. Okay, and now I would like to pass to something different. Now I would like to highlight that we have shared a link in the chat for those of you who want to be interested in contributing to this growing sense of community as a NALCAP alumni collaborator. We'd now love to hear from Danielle, who can share insights from her experience over the past year. So Danielle, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I got back from my time as a NALCAPper in Spain just about a year ago. And then a couple months after, I started my program to become an elementary school teacher here in California. And one of my courses that I was in at the university nearby, one day we came in for a speaker event, and the event was actually put on by the Consejería de Educación, the office that directly works with NALCAP. So through that, I connected with some people from the office. They were so excited to hear that I'd done the program. And through that, I basically got connected with Elsa and Luis. And I've been working really closely with them this year in kind of revamping our alumni idea of what we want to do with the program and how we can include more people that have come out of their NALCAP experience. So for that, I've helped share ideas. We helped send out a questionnaire, gaining some interest. I've helped with the LinkedIn account, reposting other people's experiences, sharing different posts, and just really working with them to help and also create this webinar. So it was really great that very closely after my time in Spain, without even realizing it, I was right back into it and helping the program that really helped me out and got me to where I was. So I'm very fortunate for that. And it just goes to show that you really can make connections with people from Spain, with people who did NALCAP, anywhere you go. So the community is very big, and also at the same time, it's a very small world.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Danielle. All right, so that was the first part of the webinar, which was the impact of NALCAP on your professional and personal life. But let's move on to the second part of the webinar, which is actual experiences that you had during your stay in Spain. So let's talk about and this is somehow a multifaceted question, what things did you find are different in both countries? What stereotypes did you hold about Spain and you found you were true or false when you arrived there? What stereotypes do Spanish people hold about the US and Canada? What things would you import from Spain? And what things would you export from the US to Spain? So, in other words, how would both countries benefit from each other? Things coming from Spain to the US and things going to the US to from the US to Spain. And when I say things, I mean an attitude, a way of doing things, a feeling, or an actual thing, process, method, something you find that one country does that would be worth exporting to the other country. That's a very interesting, insight, because you experienced the differences. So, Kathy, can I ask you to start off, because you've got a blog about this precisely, differences.
Yeah, when we were kind of talking about the questions, I was like, oh, I have to answer this one because I spend an extended amount of time still in the US, a couple times a year, even though I live in Spain again. And just having been there for about a month this spring, I was like, wow, these are the things about the US that I think are like way better, and I wish Spain did this. And then the other way around, these are the things about Spain that are way better, and I wish the US did this. So I actually did just have blog posts about both of those topics. But one thing that kind of stands out for each country that's kind of related is the over-the-counter medicine in the US, like NyQuil, DayQuil, like ibuprofen, allergy pills. I think they're all so much better than the ones in Spain. Like, I think they work so much better. I worked in an elementary school when I was in NALCAP. I was sick all the time, like every 2 weeks. My immune system could not handle it. But all of the medicines that I bought from the pharmacy, I swear they did not do anything to help me. So when I knew I was moving back to Spain, I think like half of my checked bag was just full of like American medicine that I got from like Costco. And I was like, they're gonna think I'm peddling these into Spain to sell or something. But no, I just have a drawer full of it. So that way, whenever I'm sick or when one of my friends is sick, they know that I have the stuff that we're used to. And I think it works better. But then on the other hand, obviously, healthcare and medical care and everything is just better here in Spain. Like, I've been going to the doctor for problems I've had for years that I've just never cared to pay to go get checked out in the US. So I've literally had like so many doctor's appointments in the past year. And even just the attitude of resting when you're sick, I feel like is so foreign to the US because, again, was sick all the time when I worked in my school and now CAP. And I remember I had taken a long weekend trip. I missed one day of school that my school knew about in advance because they knew I was going to take a little longer to travel. I came back from the trip and I was still so sick. And I went to school the next day because I didn't want everyone to think that I just, was too lazy to come to school after having been on a trip. And I went to school and everybody was like, Kathy, why did you come to school? You are so sick. And I was like, I know, like that's you just go to school when you're sick. And they're like, we don't do that here. And that was such a different mindset for me to change into. And this was even pre-COVID. So I don't know if anything has changed in the US since then. Probably not. But like when I worked in my corporate job previously, like you went to work sick because if you didn't, you had to use like your PTO days, and those are like so precious. You only get like 10. So the fact that in Spain, people just you're expected to rest. When you don't feel well, you rest, you don't go to work. That's such a healthier mentality, and that is something that I absolutely wish that the US would import from Spain.
All right, thank you. And Danielle, are you?
Yes. Wait.
Sorry, I was muted. And I was just going really, I was giving a whole answer, but I would just share about some of the things. I was writing a list while Kathy was speaking about things that I miss from Spain, and it makes me just want to move back. I can say honestly that when I moved to Spain, I actually moved kind of blindly. I truthfully didn't know a ton about Spanish history, Spanish culture. Like, of course, I knew the basics about like, you know, the history of Latin America, but I didn't really have a really deep understanding of Spanish history and culture. So I truthfully didn't have a lot of actual stereotypes about Spain, which I think was really good. I got to know and appreciate the deep history of Spain while I was there. But there are lots of things that I miss from Spain that I think the US should adapt. There's a few things that I think that Spain should adapt, like maybe if you know the consejería or the ayuntamiento was a little bit more efficient, or if there was air conditioning, like central air in places, I would love that. But for the most part, the things that I miss about Spain vastly outweigh the things that I think Spain should adapt. So first and foremost, this concept that I invented called snatch grannies, which is these older ladies who are probably well into their 70s, into their 80s, and they get up every day. They put their makeup on, they go out in full glam with their little baby kitten heels, and they are so cute. And they just go out and have a little cafe with their girlfriends. And I just love the fact that like people don't give up. I think in the United States we have a tendency to like, oh, well, I'm over the hill, I'm retired. It's time to kind of start winding down. And I love the fact that in Spain people just keep going, keep living their best life. So I love that concept. And I think the U.S. should definitely import that. Um, who I think maybe Lauren mentioned Mercadona. Mercadona needs to be in every state, in every corner of the world. I am obsessed with Mercadona. When I'm going to Spain in 2 weeks, actually, and that is number one on my list is Mercadona. I could go to the beach, of course, I could do all the things, but Mercadona is number one. And then, of course, Kathy mentioned public health. I would also say public transportation, not just in city, but also like intercity, like the ability to travel long distance on a train. Like that is very much not an American thing. And finally, one of my favorite things about Spain is La Persiana, which, if you haven't been to Spain, it is the blackout curtain of all blackout curtains. If you want the best rest that you've ever had, sleep in a Spanish room in somebody's grandma's house with all the persianas down, and you will sleep like a baby, or have the best siesta of your life. So, lots and lots of things that I miss from Spain that I would love to see here in the United States, but thankful for the ability to have the opportunity to even compare the two.
All right. Thank you very much, Alexis. Any other contributions?
Well, in the chat, there are people who agrees with you referring to the blind persianas and this part of the Mercadona, and that is out of here, but we have some questions. Don't worry, because when we finish this section, we will ask the questions that you have for our panel.
The Mercadona bread, yes.
Please continue.
All right, okay. So let's continue to talk about something very specific. Remember that we're talking about your actual experiences in Spain. And what can you tell us about your classroom experiences? Any memorable classroom moment? Your input will surely be very valuable to people listening, people attending this webinar tour. Those people are probably getting ready to go to Spain. So I think whatever you want to tell them about your classroom experiences will be very welcome.
I can go ahead and share first on this one. So I have nothing but good memories and good things to say about my classroom experience. I was working in a primary school in Móstoles, which is outside of Madrid. And something that I just always remember, of course, there were the fun lessons and the teaching about our culture, but something that I really take from my time in the classroom in Spain was just the close relationships between the students and the teachers. I feel that it's much more casual and personal than it is here in the US, where if you're an incoming NALCAPer, don't be surprised that that teachers are called by their first name, or that the children are very like eager to hug and be very close to their teacher. That's something that's just very common there. And honestly, something that I really enjoyed about it. It just felt like everyone was a big family. And I wish things were a little different here in the US, but my time in the classroom was great.
And I totally agree with what Danielle said about it kind of being like a family. So I, like Kieran, was placed in an elementary school, even though I had requested a high school. And also I had hoped that I was going to be placed in Madrid city center because that's what I'd requested. So not only did I not get like kind of the urban placement I wanted, because I ended up getting placed in a pueblo, I didn't get the population of like kids that I had requested. And I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. You know, this was just my gateway to get into Spain. Obviously, I was going to do my best, but I kind of like went into it like, oh, you know, I'm not sure how this is going to be, but I'm going to give it a try. So I got placed in a pueblo that was 2 hours to the north of Madrid by bus. That was 4 hours of round trip transportation on a bus every day. I would not change living in Madrid because that pueblo was small, less than 1,000 people, very isolated. The north of Madrid community is very isolated. So there was not a lot to do up there. But the school that I got placed at was amazing. Like I could not have asked for a better school. I think they were honestly like so surprised that I didn't instantly quit as a language assistant because of their location, that they like did everything to make me happy. They were so sweet to me. They would invite me to things. They would always tell me like, oh, like if you want to take a day or two off to go travel, like and just make it up later, don't worry. Like they're like, you are here to have a great experience and to travel around Europe. And they also never took advantage of me. They knew very much that my role was to be an assistant in the classroom, not the lead teacher. And so between the teachers that were like family and between the students who I also like really grew to love, they were so sweet. I was with like 5-year-old infantile up to about third grade. Um, I really admired the school, the commitment to the bilingual program, and the kids that I always pretended I didn't know any Spanish to because they liked trying to like teach me Spanish, and I would totally like mess up every word that they were trying to tell me so that they would think that they had to speak English to me, and they would put their heads together to try and tell me something. They would like collaborate with their friends to try and come up with like a good sentence in English to tell me, which I loved kind of just getting to be like their special English friend. And while, like I said, I never had the goal of like working in a classroom, and I probably never like will again. I did really cherish the moments and the time that I spent with them. And unfortunately, my second year was during COVID, so I didn't really ever get to say like a proper goodbye to them. And it actually was really hard because I didn't get any closure from that experience for a couple of years. But I got to go back and visit 2 years later, just as things were opening up, and I went to visit the school and I saw them, so I felt a lot better since then. But yeah, like I am always gonna hold the experience of the school like so close to my heart just because of how amazing they were, and I wouldn't change their location for anything. Like it was, I will always remember them, and it's made such an important impact on my life, even though it was a long time ago now. I still think about them so often.
Okay.
Luis, just 1 second before you continue, no, because connected to what Kathy has already said, this part that when you are in the classes, you are not allowed to speak Spanish. There are some people who wanted to know if you speak Spanish before going to NALCAP, and in case that no, if you consider that during the first year you can learn Spanish or you can improve your Spanish. What do you think? That is open to everyone. So anyone feel to answer? So one question, if you speak Spanish before going to Spain, before your experience, and the second question, if you consider that you improve your Spanish in case, or if you learn something of Spanish. Kiran, yeah?
I'll go. In school, even though I answered this in the chat, but even though I live in LA, I grew up learning French in school. Instead, that was the language I chose. I only did 2 semesters of college Spanish, which weren't that helpful before I went, because I wanted to, be a physician in California. It's really important to speak Spanish. And anyways, I went to Spain. Turns out I didn't know a lick of Spanish, and learned everything there. So my listening, my speaking, my accent, like things just started to just figure itself out just through immersion. My Spanish before and after is just completely changed. And I do think, like some of my other panelists here, I wish I had. I think it was it Danielle or was it Kathy who was saying that or Lauren that said that they wish that they had spent more time learning Spanish. I think it was Lauren who said that. And I definitely agree, but I learned a lot without actively trying to learn. You know, we teach English in we teach English. We don't speak Spanish in school. You know, a lot of my friends were English speaking, but the immersion, the just osmosis, learning the language through osmosis was more than I ever thought I could.
All right. Any other questions from the chat, Elsa?
Well, Danielle, I think
I was going to share too that I as well, I knew some Spanish coming in, which was a good background. But my second year living in Spain and doing NALCAP, I actually took classes twice a week, every evening, where I was in a small group, and I had a teacher who taught a lot about like conversation, not so much grammar, but that really took my Spanish to another level. So I would say if you are going to Spain and you want to learn more, there's so many opportunities aside from just making friends with Spanish people or going to language exchanges. Like there are so many people like wanting to give classes in exchange for to practice their English as well. So there's so many opportunities out there that can take your Spanish to the next level.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And now, what about those unforgettable, hilarious moments, embarrassing situations, language-related blunders that probably still hurt? What can you tell us about that? I suppose there were quite a few of them as well.
I'll jump back in here. I have lots of funny moments with language, grammar. I wasn't here for the last question, but my Spanish grammar is terrible because I never took any formal classes. So there's plenty of mistakes that I can share. But my first blunder in Spain was less about grammar or less about the language and more about the culture. And so I was on day 2 in Spain. I had flown into Madrid and my first placement was in Don Benito in Extremadura. And it was a tiny pueblo. I arrived there around like 4 o'clock. And like I said earlier, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about Spanish culture. So I didn't know like the dining times. I didn't know about things like restaurants opening. I didn't know about any of those things. So I get to my little tiny pueblo. I knew it was small. And I'd seen on the busway in, like, okay, that's the town square. I'm just gonna go up there and I'll find something to eat. And I get there and everything seems to actually be closed. And I'm like, but it's 4 o'clock. Where is everybody? And of course I went into the little
Oh, so we
and
lost.
they're like, about 8.
All right.
And I said, what?
Yes, you're back. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the restaurant opened around 8. And so, but I'm hungry now. And so the hunger pains that I felt from that 4-hour window of when the restaurant opened versus when I arrived was probably the most traumatic hunger experience that I'd ever experienced at that point up to my life. So now I got to know the Spanish culture around eating. I also just learned to bring snacks with me wherever I go because I do get hungry before 8 o'clock. I do get hungry before the restaurants open most of the time. That part of my Americanness has not left me. So I definitely learned from that lesson.
Okay, right.
I'm happy to go next. So I have kind of 2 stories around food, and anybody who has any dietary restrictions or is trying to eat a certain way, maybe you had a similar experience. But the other one is just, you know, living in a different country. So for me, it was I was trying to eat vegetarian when living in Spain, which is extremely difficult. But you know, my family is from India, and a lot of Indians are vegetarian. So I grew up eating vegetarian. So vegetarian food is very comfortable for me. And sometimes you just don't want meat or fish. And I remember one time ordering. I finally found a vegetarian sandwich on the menu. To order it, to bite into it, only to discover that there was tuna in the vegetarian sandwich. And that became a theme in Spain, that vegetarian sandwiches have tuna in them. And oftentimes when you tell people, and I'm not a strict vegetarian, but I had friends that were, and often when you tell people I'm vegetarian, they'll like serve you something with fish. It's like, no, like no fish, no meat. So the classic Spanish definition of vegetariano-ish. It was both hilarious and a good reminder to always ask twice when you're in a different country. Also, word to the wise, before moving to Spain, somebody had given me the advice, whatever you do, never order nachos in Spain. Like obviously if it's a Mexican restaurant or something like that, maybe it's a little safer. I was just like, what are you talking about? Ordering nachos in Spain, it'll be fine. They really meant like at a bar, like a classic bar or cafeteria in Spain. And one night I definitely learned my lesson, and I didn't make that mistake again. It was just a plate of red kidney beans, like on the plate, cold red kidney beans, Doritos straight from the bag, no cheese, some tomatoes, a few jalapenos, and that was it. So from Los Angeles, I know a thing or two about the good nachos, and this was a bit of a tragedy. Regrets all around. I had friends who actually who had similar experience. So this situation with the nachos is not uncommon, but you know, I still laugh and cringe a little bit thinking about it. But you know, it's part of the wonderfulness of living in a new country.
Okay. Right. So you had surprises then, and this is the last question. We're just getting to the end. Surprises. Surprises you had, you experienced, and well, that were are memorable. So big surprises during your stay in Spain.
So this is not like necessarily related to the program, but obviously I was living in Spain when this happened. But basically in that job that I was working before I quit to move to Spain, I was like pretty good friends with like a lot of my team members, and one of them like I kind of started dating before I left, and we were like, well, you know, it's not serious. You're moving to Spain, so it's fine, and maybe we'll never see each other again. It's fine. Even though I had other friends that I was a lot closer with from the team, I was really sad to like be breaking up with this guy because I was like, dang, if I wasn't moving, who knows, maybe it could have turned into something special, but whatever. I'm not going to give up my dream for some guy. Um, so I moved to Spain, and even though we like had kind of tried to break up, we just kept talking here and there a lot more than we both expected. And about 6 months later, we were talking because one of our other good friends from work was coming to visit me, and we were talking about like going to Porto for the weekend and having like a girls' weekend. And I was like just, you know, telling this guy about how she was coming to visit. And so one morning I went to the airport to pick her up, and my friend texted me like, "Hey, I'm at arrival gate 10, like I'm looking for you." And I was like looking all around for her, and then this guy that I had been dating showed up at the airport instead, which I think I like almost fell over because it was just so unexpected. I had like zero clue that that was going to happen. And yeah, that kind of continued our relationship, I guess. Like it kind of restarted it, and we kind of made the decision to kind of go long distance. And now, like 6.5 years later, we're married, and he lives in Spain with me now. He wasn't a NALCAPper, but he's along for the ride with me. Also on the digital nomad visa now too. So yeah, now I have my happily ever after in Spain.
Right. So that was great. Okay. Any other contributions?
I'll go next. I kind of alluded to this in my introduction with my word, but one of my most unforgettable moments was my first kiss with my boyfriend, who is now my boyfriend, Andreas. We're still together today, 6.5 years later. It happened late at night outside the iconic Chocolateria San Ginés. We had just had some nice churros con chocolate. And under the glow of the street lights, before we crossed the quiet street towards Plaza Mayor, it was like something out of a movie, sweet, surreal, and the beginning of a story I didn't know I was starting. So my partner, he lives in Valencia, and I'm actually here right now, getting to live in Spain over the summer during my medical school breaks. So yeah, it's a wonderful memory that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, very romantic memories. And now my last question, I'd like you to be very telegraphic, please, is some of the people today are attending the webinar and they are getting ready to travel to Spain, so they don't need to be persuaded to join NALCAP because they have almost done it. So looking back at NALCAP and your experience in the program, I would like to ask you, why would you personally recommend NALCAP? So very briefly to someone who is considering joining NALCAP. What is the #1 reason to join NALCAP?
Well, for me, there are so many reasons. I don't even know if I could choose just one, but something that I'll say to any future NALCAPers are there are so many opportunities for you in Spain, even if you're not interested in long-term teaching. But if you want to learn a new language, if you want to meet new people, if you want to travel within Spain and across Europe, if you want to try new foods, like there is seriously so many things that you can do. And I just couldn't recommend it enough. I had the best experience, and obviously there are times when things are challenging, there's a language barrier, but I will always remember the good times and the funny times and the friends that I have now. So I just can't recommend it enough. I think Kieran mentioned it earlier, how when you're 80, like, do you want to look back and think, oh, I wish I would have moved to Spain, or do I wish I would have done this? And I'd say this is one of those things where you don't want to have that regret. So I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
I'd say, based off of this conversation, move to Spain, do NALCAP because it's obviously the new Love Island, as someone said in the chat. Kidding. There's way more reason to come and say yes. I would say for me, saying yes to NALCAP and participating in this program was a series of yeses that have led me to where I am, and I could not have even planned a better life and a better outcome than what has been bestowed upon me because I said yes to this program. And I would encourage anyone who's on the fence to continue to say yes. Yes to buying that airplane ticket. Yes to waiting if your visa is delayed. Yes to having conversations with your school as your school is waiting for you. I'm coming, I'm coming. That needs to be the messaging, because when you get there, your yeses will turn into, again, experiencing that you couldn't plan. I'm here because I said yes to this experience, to this webinar, because I said yes to my teachers, even though it was a pueblo and I did want to go. I wanted to be in Barcelona and they put me in the furthest place away from Barcelona. I still said yes. I made friends because I said yes to a girl who really just forced herself on me. And she is now one of my best friends in the entire world. I also want to say that this experience, I'm admittedly like on the spectrum. I'm on the far side of extroversion. This experience and being in Spain in general, especially as a young person, has an experience for everyone. So you don't have to be a certain type. You don't have to be excited about this one particular part of the culture. There's so many things that you can get out of it. So even if you are introverted and you like to stay home, there's still ways to build community. There's still ways to make connection. There's still ways to understand and get involved in the culture that don't look like my experience. So I would go just to build your own pathway to say yes to things that you would not have normally done, because that is where growth lies. So saying yes to this program is absolutely life-changing, as we've talked about in many different ways. And I really am excited for you all on the front end of this journey. I can't wait to hear all the wonderful stories that you will undoubtedly build in your time in Spain, because it's coming. So just say yes when the doors open.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I have to say that we planned this chat between friends and among friends, and it's lovely what we have here, but it's time to finish. And we have many questions that people are asking. For example, there are people who wants to know about this digital nomad visa, for example, that Kathy has, and other questions about what happens if you go to communities with different co-official languages and things like that. We will try to answer these questions maybe in our email address and anything that you need. But I'm so sorry. I think it's time to say goodbye. I don't have enough words to thank to our panelists for this wonderful talk, and I am sure it was greatly appreciated by our attendees too. But I have one last exciting news. We are delighted to announce a scholarship for an online course offered by the Universidad de Salamanca focusing on resources for teaching Spanish as a second language. That we consider it can be helpful for those of you who like languages in general. So to participate, you simply need to fill out the final questionnaire that will appear in our chat now. Both panelists and attendees will be considered. The scholarship will be raffled. We only have one, sorry, among those who express interest and complete the form. So don't miss out. Your insight could win you a chance to continue growing professionally. Thank you again for joining us today. Your presence makes our NALCAP community stronger and more vibrant. You mean the world to us. See you on LinkedIn and hopefully a future webinar and gatherings of NALCAP alumni. You know that you will have access to the recording of this webinar in our webpage in the part of NALCAP alumni. Don't forget to fill out the feedback form. We really want to hear from you. And for those of you that will be traveling to Spain, best wishes and enjoy as much as our panelists did. And for you, our former NALCAPers, let us know about you. Get in touch with us through LinkedIn and give us the opportunity to continue creating a community that can help one and others. Thanks a lot again and have a wonderful summer. Bye-bye to everyone. See you girls. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Elsa. This is great.
Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you. Thank you, of course.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.
And great job, ladies. Y'all did fantastic.
Okay, great.
I loved your last answer about yes to everything. Like, you're so right. I mean, literally just what you said. Like, all the yeses have set all of us up exactly to where we are now. So that was a great way to end it.
That's the perfect way to say it, definitely. Just say yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just say yes.
NALCAP forever.
NALCAP forever. People are saying in the chat too. I love it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.